Happy Monday, caregivers. Welcome to another episode of the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagined podcast. I am your host, Melissa Miller, and I am so excited to talk about this week's episode because this really came out of the blue when I was working on a project for something else. So I love how ideas just happen to pop into your brain that way when things happen. So today I'm going to be talking to you about traveling and caregiving because let's face it, taking trips are stressful enough. But when you add in the component of also having to manage someone's illness, a loved one, that can be a lot. And so today I want to share with you some of my best tips and hacks for helping you manage your loved one's illness while you're traveling and also how to still stay present in the moment when you're traveling and still wanting to make those memories and have that connection with your loved one. Because let's face it, even though your loved one is sick, even though you're a caregiver, traveling and having fun making memories, taking these trips is still important, right? Because it still enhances your loved one's quality of life. So let's dive in. So the first thing, pardon me if I look down, I have some notes here on my phone, guys. So anyway, so the first thing I recommend you do is sit down with your loved one and get your dates on the calendar. And this is good to just talk about like getting the juices flowing in terms of like getting them involved about where they want to go, what they want to do. Maybe if there's family that they haven't seen in a while, if that's something that they would like to do, or maybe there's just a destination that's on their bucket list that they would like to go to. And so you can talk about that and then start to also logistically see like what is doable right now in terms of pricing, your finances, your budget, and your loved one's capability. And even if you get multiple ideas, I would still say jot them down somewhere. So that way you can plan out, have those in the back of your brain for other trips. Okay. So get those on your calendar. So I would definitely um, put them on Google Calendar. That's my biggest tool that I use because then you can just block out big amounts of time and set alerts to remind you when something's coming up. So like if it's a trick, if it's a trip, excuse me, not trick, trip, sorry, you can have a start and end date and then just block at that time so you know that week or 2 weeks or however long you're going to be gone on your trip, that's just clearly marked out with whatever color you choose for when you're going on trips, that you cannot schedule any business meetings or anything in terms of your business, and also medical appointments, obviously, for your loved one. So or for yourself even, right? So you make sure that you schedule those before and after. So definitely start with getting it on Google Calendar so you can see in your schedule where you need to kind of tweak and revamp things. The next thing I would suggest that you do is look at your loved one's medications and medical supplies. Okay. So think about looking at the refill dates. Like, do you have enough about the time that you're going to be leaving? Do you have enough? Do you even have refills? If you're at zero, I would definitely put a call into your loved one's doctors and say, hey, we're out of refills. Plus, we're going on a trip. So could you please expedite getting some extra refills on this prescription? And also maybe just supplementing extra, because the last thing you want to have happen is your loved one running out of medication or supplies, right? And alongside that, with thinking about emergencies, I would also do some research and call pharmacies and medical supply stores around your destination that you're planning to go and see if they have enough on stock or if they carry that specific some medical supply or medication that your loved one takes and uses. So if by some chance, Lord forbid, you do run out, you have a backup plan. And that's also a good way to check too with insurance, because obviously you might go to another place that carries that supply, that medication, but do they take your insurance? That's another thing. The last thing you want is extra expense either, right? With your insurance not being able to pick up the tab for whatever you need to spend. So definitely do that. I know, speaking from experience with my parents, when my dad was caring for my mom and she was doing dialysis, they had to do that. There was a couple times when they would go up for trips up to Washington, to our cabin, and they would have a delivery truck come and bring them more of my mother's dialysis supplies to the cabin, so they would have enough to make it through their vacation. So just think about that. So whether that's pharmacy meds, from any doctor or pharmacy, or a med supply store like Norco, or maybe some other med supply brand, just do some research, make those phone calls, and make note about how you're going to be able to supplement if something does come up to where you run out, something happens, or just that's the only way to do it if you can't get enough refills or whatnot from your loved one's medical provider. Okay. The next one I would say is obviously, like we've talked about before in other episodes where I talk about how important it is to have your loved one's medical history with you and updated at all times because of a medical emergency. I mean, obviously, if we're going on a family trip, we're we're hoping and praying to avoid needing to go to the ER or the urgent care. But with chronic illness, you just never know. So I would definitely recommend making sure that you get a smaller packet together of the basics of your loved one's medical history. So you have that with you if you have to go to the hospital or ER while you're on your vacation. So again, the basics would be current dates of diagnosis and all procedures, contact information for all your loved ones, primary doctors, specialists, so address, fax number, phone number. So that way, if the doctors need to contact them, you can provide that information, insurance information, and also preference of hospital or urgent care that you would like to go to. So if you do have to call 911, say, for example, and have EMTs come to where you're staying at, you can be specific about what facility you want your loved one to go to. Because again, thinking in terms of the budget issue, and insurance, making sure that you're going on site to a hospital or urgent care clinic that does take your loved one's insurance to help offset the cost. Okay. And then also all known allergies. Again, ingredients just really cross over these days. So you can never be too careful. So definitely make sure you have anything listed that is not only medication or cream topical related, but also food related. Because nowadays, there's some food elements in medication, supplements, things like that. So just be really detailed with what your loved one's triggers and allergies are to things and sensitivities. Also, make sure, speaking of which, also triggers to their illness and what their basic symptoms are, of what to date are, of what the normal baseline is. Because obviously, when you're out of town in a different clinical environment that isn't acquainted with your loved one's medical history, you're trying to give them as much information out the gate so they know what to do if they have to triage or take care of them in an unexpected medical emergency. So be specific, with what makes it worse, what makes it better, what treatments you currently have going, things like that. Okay. Then the next thing I would recommend that you do is look at your itinerary. Okay. Look at your itinerary about what you want to do on your trip. It's good to have a plan. And also think about it from the standpoint of your loved one's health. Okay. We obviously, as the caregivers, usually are healthier and we have more health, we have more energy, and we could probably whip out a lot more destinations or tourist attractions in one day. But obviously, for our loved ones who are chronically ill and just don't have as much stamina, it might be more appropriate to, maybe instead of trying to do 3 things a day, maybe 1 or 2, or even just maybe 1 thing a day, and have the trip be a little bit longer to where you guys get to do what you want to do, but it's at a pace where your loved one's not going to get tapped out and burned out and have a bad flare up with their health issues, right? So have an itinerary, have a plan. Think about, and also if you do have to condense it down because you can't afford to be away for a really long time, really think about the highlights, like around, if it's somewhere that's like a bucket list item, what are maybe 2 or 3 places that are just really on your loved one's bucket list that they would really like to see, and put those on your itinerary. And when you're thinking about the itinerary, I would think about like what time of day works best for you to go and see the X, Y, and Z site, to allocate maybe time that your loved one needs to take medications or have treatments. Or I know with my husband, a big thing that is a component of his care is rest. He has to have a nap every day because it helps manage his epilepsy. To give him, his body just needs that extra sleep to be able to function properly. And there's nothing wrong with that. So just because you're on a vacation, it doesn't mean that all the needed self-care things to help your loved ones stay healthy and both physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being still don't apply. They do. So definitely allocate time for them to get the needed rest they need, have their medications, do what they need to do. And also think about too, I would throw in there too, think about what adaptive equipment you might want to have with you to make it easier for them to enjoy the destinations. If Usually they can walk well without a walker or a wheelchair, but you know this one place you're going to go see and visit how it encompasses a lot of walking. Maybe it might be a good idea to just bring their wheelchair along, just in case, so that way if they get tired, they can still be able to enjoy the event or the destination that you're seeing, but they can sit and they're not, just struggling to make it through the rest of the tour or whatever activity you're doing on your vacation. Okay, so just think about that. So adaptive equipment. I would also think about just other things for comfort for when you're traveling as well. Besides adaptive equipment, I would suggest thinking about hydration. So maybe making sure you have reusable water bottles packed so you can just refill water to take with you for the day. Hats and sunscreen, like if you're traveling during, and sunglasses if you're traveling during the spring and the summer, it's going to get hot. So making sure your loved one stays cool, because I know with a lot of chronic illness, heat is a sensitivity. And so just make sure that they have a cool hat to shade them, like light and um, soft clothing that's easy to get in and out of, and also won't make them overheated. Um, Maybe an umbrella that you can attach to like their wheelchair for extra shade if you wish. Sunglasses and definitely sunscreen, right, to protect their skin. Okay. And then also, I just also want you lastly to think about, besides pacing yourself, capturing the moments. Okay. When we're caregivers, one of the things we're very much aware of is that we have limited time. We're on limited time with our loved ones, and we want to soak that up. It is so important that we soak that up. And so, one thing I would recommend doing is thinking about how you like to document that. Is it by taking extra pictures, maybe getting a Polaroid? I know we have the digital age of using our phones, but sometimes maybe if you're a scrapbooker and you really want to document those memories via pictures, maybe a good way to do that is to invest as a treat, a trip treat. Get a Polaroid camera and take snapshots, and then you can start filling up scrapbooks if you want. Or maybe it's blending it with some journaling, where you get a notebook or some journal, a memory book of some sort. You snap a Polaroid picture of a highlight, and then to be able to help refresh your memory about the experience, you have you have the picture in the book, and then you have below a short description about what you did, about what this picture is encompassing of the memory, to help trigger you and your loved one when you're reflecting back later on about these experiences. Okay. And also just to have fun. Okay. I know when you're a caregiver, you're on heightened alert and there's so many more things that you need to be aware of. But guys, also, our loved ones are our loved ones. We only have them for so long. And so definitely be open to just enjoying them. Enjoy them. Okay. And to soak in these memories. So whatever works for you in soaking up these moments, whether it's journaling or taking pictures, like I said, or having intentional conversation with your loved one about what was a highlight today. Maybe that could be another thing you could write down, is at the end of the day, ask your loved one, you and your loved one maybe talk for like maybe 10 or 15 minutes and talk about, hmm, what was one thing that we really liked about today? That was one of our favorite things that we did. And then write it down. So that way you have that, because the thing about casting memories is, even though your loved one will eventually, we know our loved ones will eventually go, this is also for you. This is a beautiful opportunity to capture some beautiful memories, beautiful moments for you. Because as you're grieving, sometimes it's really helpful to have that tangible thing that you can pull out and reflect back on the good things. I know for me, as with losing my parents within the span of 2 years back to back, I really enjoyed having so many pictures in my home that my dad took and my mom took for years, and scrapbooks that my mom did when I was little, when her health was a little bit better, uh, of just memories and family history that I am so thankful I have, because obviously we have a lot of memories when we grow up, but we don't always remember everything. And it's so fun to go back down memory lane and look at these things. And with me having in my situation, having a small child that didn't get a lot of time with her grandparents. I had more time with her grandparents than she did. I love that I have these beautiful physical reminders about what my parents were like and who her grandparents in turn are, and how I can use these memories and pictures to share stories about things that were fun for me when I was growing up, and to kind of give her a taste even further of what her grandparents personality and whatnot were like. So anyway, that is pretty much my tips, but I hope that helps with you planning your next um, trip with your loved one. And if you also need a resource, guys, and like obviously planning and trying to write all this down could be crazy and overwhelming, I have something for you. I will leave a link below wherever you're watching this, on my blog, my YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're watching this. Below, you will find a link to my ultimate caregiver travel checklist. And this is a ebook that's $47, and it is broken down into sections just like I talked about, where you plan out there's a checklist for like making sure that you called all your medical supply stores and that you got refills for your loved one for their medication. You blocked out your dates. There's pages in there for you to just have it. You can just take this with you. It can be a binder that you just take with you. There's sections in there for writing in your loved one's medical history, emergency contact information, insurance information, so you can have kind of a more condensed version of your loved one's medical needs and history to take with you on the go, versus having to take, like, if you have a big heftier binder of medical history for your loved one. This way you can kind of condense it down to just the basics, the main high points, highlights, so that way you're good to go on the road with your loved one while you're traveling. So anyway, definitely check out that link below. And if you have questions about filling it out or how to do it, definitely email me. My email's below, or shoot me a DM on my Instagram or Facebook. I would love to connect with you. And I appreciate you guys listening and tuning in to another episode of the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagined podcast. And I just hope that this summer you really, truly can find some time, even with the chaos of your loved one's illness and the unpredictability of your loved one's illness, that you can take some time to just really soak it in and enjoy the moments that you do get with your loved one, because life is so fragile. We never know when it's going to end. And this is the time now, while we're with them, to soak in the moments. Yes, we need to be diligent with making sure that we're prepared to handle their health, and both legally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, meeting all their needs and their wishes depending on how fast or how quick they go. But at the same time, there is an element of being present in the time that we do have now. And there's no shame in that. So I appreciate you listening, appreciate you watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and I will connect with you again soon. All right, take care, guys.